Yo, what's good YouTube? Back again with another video, and today we are going to do a direct comparison with the MCHOSE A7 Ultra and the GPX2 from Logitech. If you've never heard of MCHOSE, they've been making some really good budget mice. I never really checked them out until they adapted Omron opticals. I just didn't want to buy mechanical switches in a budget mouse because that sounds like it'll double click over time, but here they are now with Omron opticals in the A7 Ultra, which is obviously a near direct clone of the GPX. So let's just make this quick. This is going to run you $65, around $70 after tax, and the GPX retails for about $159, though you should be buying it when it goes on sale. Secondly, if you're in the US, you should be buying it from Best Buy, which offers a 20% recycling discount. If you go ahead and do that, you can give them any old mouse that literally you've been collecting dust with over 10 years or something. They'll really take anything, or a keyboard, something gaming related, gaming peripheral related, they will take it and give you 20% off. If you wait to combo a sale with that 20% off, you can get it for around $100 to $120 after tax. Even then, that's still almost double what you pay for the MCHOSE A7 Ultra. Starting from how the mice look outside, they do look pretty premium and they both have good coatings. As for how they feel in terms of build, they both won't creak. They feel very stable. No matter what I do here, they're both feeling very solid. No noises, no creaking. For the bottom of the mice, as you can see, the GPX just has the on-off button. The A7 Ultra has the DPI button and the switch to go to 2.4 gigahertz or Bluetooth. It also has a USB cover. I would have preferred them to not go with this. It kind of just looks cheap, and I would have preferred them to go with a matching big skate on the top and the bottom. Furthermore, like this font and just the way these switches look along with the USB cover, it just looks really, really cheap. Like if you look at it from above, you can't really tell that it's a budget mouse until you flip it over and you see this, right? That's how I also felt about having this logo. It looks like a K, but the brand is called MCHOSE, right? So I'm not really sure what this is, and having it just exactly where the G is on the GPX makes it look really like budget or cheap. So yeah, in terms of the build, in terms of how the mouse looks on the outside, the only thing I would change is to remove this logo, just have this clean MCHOSE logo right here. Makes it look a bit more premium. Secondly, this font is also looking very cheap. Just swipe that off. And then furthermore, just, this switch design looking very cheap also, fix that and just get rid of the USB cover. It looks really cheap. As for the feet, they are PTFE from what I can tell, and they are the black variant. These kind of get a bad reputation from being on Zowie, but I've always liked them. So continue on the outside, the shape, they're basically one-to-one. What I will note that I like more on the A7 Ultra is that there is a click divider in the middle. This just gives you a lot more security and stability. The amount of lack of wiggle room in a budget mouse like this is just incredible, and that's partially thanks to the design. Just absolutely minimal play here, and it feels premium. Whereas on the GPX, the one thing I don't like about these clicks is like if you click it from the middle, you can see it kind of like flexing the plastic in weird ways. You just don't get that stability without this kind of ridge to give you that stability, obviously. The next thing, while the shapes are incredibly similar, there is a slight difference. So you see on the GPX where the thumb curve is, where the side buttons are, it has this little ledge that makes the grip width thinner. And a big criticism about the Superlight was that it's reflected on the other side, right? What is this bump here for if they remove the symmetrical side buttons? No one really knows. It just looks kind of out of place. It does give you a thinner grip in the middle. Now that is just not present here on the MCHOSE A7 Ultra. It's kind of hard to see with the white coating, but as you can see, just no ridges near the bottom of the side buttons or on the other side. And that's going to make the grip kind of wider, and I actually prefer it in my opinion. Of course, this will be subjective, but I think just having flatter sides on a mouse is just better. That's why I like the GPX2 over the Viper V2 and the Viper V3. Those are still going for, the flaring in the middle. I think a lot of mice that have come out recently don't do the flaring as much and are pretty popular. Something like the HitScan Hyperlight is known for being super flat on the sides. Other shapes, maybe Sora V2, maybe Pulsar X2, those are pretty flat on the sides as well without the flaring. And just in general, when you put your hand on a mouse and you look at your hand, there is nothing indicating that the flaring should be in the middle, right? I think this is why egg shapes are kind of popular, because look at your hand shape. It's closer to an egg than an hourglass, so I don't know why we're making hourglass shapes. So yeah, as far as the outside, I like the shape better on the MCHOSE A7 Ultra, but I do feel like the GPX2 just looks more clean and professional on the outside. Next thing, as for what's on the inside, the GPX2 has the Lightspeed 2 sensor, which is known to be very good. You get 1K all the way up to 8K with very good performance. Same thing with the Omron opticals. On the MCHOSE A7 Ultra, you get the 3950, 1K all the way to 8K as well. And the dongle comes in the box with the A7 Ultra. So I really like that they're cutting the price tag a lot here, and it still comes with the high polling rate dongle if you decide to use higher polling rates. As for the buttons, they are using Omron opticals, but they do feel a lot different from the GPX2. They do feel good still, they're just a lot lighter and more spammable, which depending on what kind of games you play, this will be better. Something like League of Legends, you will like this much more than the GPX2. If you've tried the Lamzu Maya X, which I reviewed in another video, you will feel very familiar with these clicks. They are very light, spammable, and I think the only gripe some people will have for them is that there's not enough tactile feedback, whereas the GPX2 has so much tactile feedback, even too much to some. As for the side buttons, there is a clear winner, and it is not the premium option. Big criticism of the Superlight is that it has mushy side buttons, and they didn't fix it in the GPX2, nor did they fix it in future batches like they did with the main clicks. These are still going to be mushy and kind of have way too much pre-travel, but honestly they really get the job done unless you heavily depend on them in a game like Fortnite. You go to the budget option and it's like a night and day difference. These are super sharp and tactile, and they don't have much pre-travel, so these just feel amazing. I will say these are very similar to the Death Adder V3 Pro side buttons. Not as crisp, but very close. And if you don't know, the Death Adder V3 Pro is known for having some of the best side clicks of all time. The wheels are pretty similar, they are looser, but you can still kind of feel the notches. Where the MCHOSE A7 Ultra wins again is the middle click. It sounds a bit snappier than the dull middle click on the GPX2. Here's audio of all the buttons compared. So yeah, as far as button quality goes, depending on what kind of person you are for the main clicks, all the buttons outperform the GPX2 here on the budget option, which is insane. Like I said before, the coding is almost as good, just about as good, and the internal performance with the 3950 is also very good. Probably no noticeable difference to human reaction time when using these two. So my final verdict here is just it's very hard to beat this mouse, and like I said, I waited for their first few models to start adapting Omron opticals and the 3950, and they have done a great job at delivering here. This is a great budget option. I don't know why one would want to buy this over the GPX2 other than getting a warranty and then maybe having good software support. If you've kept up, the GPX2 has gotten a ton of firmware updates, though it's hard to see why they would do any more updates at this point. Also, you can get onboard memory manager for the GPX2 and have a very lightweight software experience, whereas this does have its, you know, kind of Chinese looking software experience because it is a Chinese software, obviously. But yeah, I think the grip width being a little wider is better. The lighter clicks are more appreciated. They are light and spammable. The side buttons fix what's probably the worst aspect of the GPX2, and the price tag is around 50% or lower depending on the price of the day of the GPX2, right? Like I said, the only gripe about this is how like scuffed it looks on the outside. Like, just look at this base, man. If you ask someone how much you think this mouse costs and would you use it in a competitive game, just looking at the base, they'd probably say no, right? Until you read the spec sheet, until you look at everything, you see you have high polling rate, you see you have good battery life. It's kind of hard to argue against after that, right? If this mouse doesn't become popular, I will say it's because of how it looks on the outside, but I do think this should be a default recommendation for a budget mouse going forward, seeing as the GPX2 has always been a default recommendation for a gaming mouse, right? So yeah, last thing I will show you is the software. Like I said, it is kind of scuffed, but yeah, it gets the job done. It is going to show you obviously A7 Ultra, software version, mouse version, and all that stuff. Bindings, DPI, and polling rate. As you can see, you get the option for 4K and 8K with the default dongle at the box, which is good, like I said. Macros, config, you know, all this stuff. Esports mode, which is probably high power mode. Game safe mode, I'm not sure what this means. And then sensor performance if you want to use motion sync. I don't recommend using ripple or angle snap at all. And then obviously liftoff distance, sleep time. There is a bit of weird translation here as well, so like open and close, which probably just means like on or off. It's just a weird translation. But yeah, the software does get the job done. It's just a matter of how anti-China you feel at the moment, I guess. If you just automatically think Chinese software gives you a virus, then this is not going to be for you.